back again here to airbrush some more. Now, even though these two are from the same squadron, they both have different red markings on them, and they're in different positions. Here's the Revell kit. This Unholy Mess is actually going to help me work on the model. It's actually going to be, helpful. The wingtips are red, and it has a stripe down the tail. And the Academy one here has 3 stripes. It has one on the tail and one on either aileron, and nothing on the wingtips. So this has 2 coats of Future applied to it, and I did 1 coat and I could see that I was still picking out little flecks of silver, so I decided to add a 2nd coat. So it's taken me a bit longer to get on with painting these guys up because I had to wait for that to dry just a little longer. The Revell cowling, there's a line that I rescribed here that's part of the cowl. That's how far it goes on there. And the Academy cowling, it goes back farther, just by a bit. So I've painted these, or taped these up. These are going to be painted red. It's going to look great, I think. I'm going to use Tamiya X7. It's a really nice red. It's a bit dark for my liking, but it's still a very, very nice color. When I did the Tamiya P-51, the 32nd scale one there, I used bright red, I think, out of the spray can, and I decanned it, and that's where you spray it out of the spray paint bottle into a little bottle of paint, like a clear one, and then you pour it in your paintbrush. I'm never going to do that again, I think. That took forever to clean up. But anyways, yeah, I've got the red paint in here, and I've checked it over, and everything seems to be working out just fine. So I'm going to start playing the music now, and yeah, I'm going to finish airbrushing this. Still got a lot of airbrushing to do on it, but it's gonna take me a while to get there anyways, so hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to do the olive drab and the yellow, and I'll be closer to be getting this thing done. It's actually coming along pretty quick. I'm kind of forcing myself to work faster with this one. Anyways, enough of me. Cue the music. Now I'm really seeing red coming out of that. I can still see a bit of kind of a purpley tint to it. The camera's not going to pick it up. It's more of a kind of got to be there to see it type of effect here. But it is looking pretty darn good. And I think I'm only going to need another layer of paint on this and a wet coat. Again, the wet coat, I'll explain that in a minute. Yeah, it's just going to need a couple coats. So it's actually going pretty well. I thought maybe I was going to need a couple more layers. I didn't know how well this paint was going to react. It turns out it's a fresh pot of paint, and I was actually surprised. I thought it was older and runny. So yeah, this is looking good. I'm quite pleased with this. The cowling, you can definitely see more. It's getting a shine on it. Not yet. It's not shiny enough to where I want it. Like I said, it's got to have another layer and a wet coat on top of it, but it's definitely getting there. So yeah, on with layer 3. Yeah, definitely 3 layers. I've got the red. This is the red I was, talking about, what I was expecting, waiting for that to pop out here. However, yeah, the last step and the final step is a wet coat. Now, the thing to remember when you're doing this is you're layering and layering and layering the paint. And it's easy to get frustrated when you're doing this, guys. It's really easy to lose your cool and just go. Keep calm, gradually build up those layers, and you'll get there, okay? So just keep that in mind. You might have a problem with it if your paint is too thin, so you're going to have to check into that and kind of balance that on your own. Kind of mix it at the consistency, but you might want to make it a little bit thicker. It depends on the paint you're using, and it depends on your airbrush and your situation. It definitely needs a wet coat, though. And I remember, I'm going to tell you guys again what a wet coat is. Wet coat is like a final layer of paint that you apply, especially to gloss, but you also do it to flat colors too. And it's kind of higher pressure, a little bit more of a stream, and it's kind of just blasting the paint on there. And what that's going to do is it's going to give it its nice, really nice shine look to it that you're going to want to have. Here you can look at the cowling, and yeah, you can really see a nice gloss in there. And when I do the wet coat, that's going to be even nicer. So get ready for that. It's going to be really cool. What am I putting that away for? This is what I'm airbrushing right now. So I'm going to go and do that wet coat. Remember, this is going to take practice. It's not going to be something I think a lot of people are going to get right away. Of course, there's always exceptions to that rule. But again, it's just a little bit more pressure. If it's a bigger surface, like if I wasn't just doing this, like if I was doing a car body, I would use a lot more pressure when I was doing this. But I'm doing these tiny little areas, and I don't want it to overspray and get red paint on the side of the fuselage and screw up my silver. So I'm going to be doing it kind of lighter than I normally would. But like if it was a car body, you probably would have, like with this color, I probably would have 5 layers and then a wet coat, and that would be higher pressure over the entire model just to get that really nice shine. You might even do it twice just to make sure you get that shine in there. But for this, it's just going to be like this. It's not going to be anything really spectacular, especially because again, it's a tiny area and I don't want to have excess buildup of the paint next to the tape edges. So I'm going to go and give it a final wet coat, and tomorrow I'll be able to see how it did, which I'm nervous for and excited. So So that was just a brief wet coat. Okay, so what I did is I was brushing it on there, and as I brushed the paint on, I could see it go nice and dull. So I increased the air, and it became really glossy after that. It became wet. And now I can really see this really epic shine in there. I mean, look at that. Isn't that great? That's exactly, what you want out of a wet coat. And so I'm going to go and finish. I'm going to pause this video, and I'm going to go finish airbrushing the rest of these planes here by doing that, because I need to be closer. I can't quite do it this far away. I need to be closer to pay more attention to what I'm doing on this. So there you have it. Alright, so I mentioned earlier that the Revell Canopy was no good, and I was probably going to vacuum form a new one. So what vacuum forming is, it's you take plastic like this. This came off of a Stormtrooper figure box. The figure was better than I thought it, or I thought it was better than it was, I should say. But I took the plastic off of it. It's this nice clear plastic. You can see it's pretty thin. And you get this with a lot of stuff. Like I said, action figures and stuff like that. They're kind of the most common. But you can find this plastic anywhere. This is basically the same stuff that they use. Like when you go to Squadron, you buy vacuum form canopies, and they're just very thin plastic like this. It's super transparent. It's really, really flexible. So some people don't like it because it's a little difficult to work with. But I'm going to try vacuum forming the canopy. This is my vacuum forming machine. I built this a few years ago. I've only used it a couple of times. I can do a video of how to build one of these if there are enough people that are interested in learning how to do this yourself. It's not that hard to do. And they're really not that hard to make. It's just a little box here. It's got all these holes drilled out on top of it. This is let the air go out. This is a funnel that I've added on there so that the vacuum attachment will fit on there. So I have the canopy here, and I've coated it in plasticine to fill in all the gaps there. And I'm just going to lay it here in the middle, like so. And one thing I want to do, and I gotta find it here, is I want to make sure all the edges are clean, preferably even if they have a little bit of a lip on them. This will help the plastic, once we get it hot enough, to wrap around the edges, which is something that you really do want because then it's easier to cut them out. Like I said, you can go on to, there's tons of people that make them, but I think one of the most notable ones for me would be Squadron. They make quite a bit of different canopies like this. So I'm just pressing down on these edges like that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up over the stove top, and it's going to make this kind of rippled effect, and that's good. You want to heat it slowly, and you want to heat it enough that you just set it on top of here, and the vacuum should take care of the rest. If you got it hot enough, you shouldn't have any problems. So this is the frame. This is something you want to use. I've cut this out of some cardboard here. It doesn't exactly fit, but it fits close enough for what we need here today. So I'm just going to place these on top, like so, and put down these little clips here. Paper clips work really well for this because they cool really fast and they're not heavy. You don't exactly want to use clamps. You want to use cardboard or metal. Don't use wood and plastic. So don't build your frame out of styrene sheets that you may have laying around. Build them out of cardboard. So this is what your frame should look like. Now I made a big frame here, and I'm probably going to make a smaller one here in a little while. But like I said, I'm going to have some pliers with me. Not these ones exactly, but I'll just kind of hold it, here like this, and heat it up over the element. And then I will have assistance on this one to cue up the vacuum cleaner, and it should suck itself over there and conform nicely over there. The one thing you do want to do, and I want to mention this, is you want to have breathing room. You want to have breathing space. So if you can, use more plastic on the surrounding edges. Like, use a bigger sheet than you think. That allows the plastic to pull and conform around the object, which is something that you will want. Otherwise, you might run into a bit of a problem there. So let's go to this, and this will be very difficult to film. So I apologize if I don't quite get it, because I'm only gonna maybe only do this once. I hope I only have to do it once. Anyways. Alright, I've got the element on. I can feel the heat coming off of it. And so like I said, you just place this over it. And don't place it right over the element. You don't want to melt the darn thing, because this is easy to burn. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm getting a nice ripple. And you kind of bounce it. Okay, turn it on. No, the vacuum. Okay. And it looks good. I don't see any real imperfections except one. I might be able to heat that out a bit later, or ignore it. But it looks good. And that's it. That's a vacuum formed canopy. That was pretty cool. That actually went a lot quicker than I thought. That was my brother who was helping me, and yeah, he got a little panicked there. Tried to turn off the camera. Like, no, the vacuum. It was funny. You guys saw it. So here it is. Look at that. It's pretty cool. So you just take it out like this, and let's undo the frame. And yes, I didn't get it melting in shot, but it's kind of hard to record what the plastic looks like, the consistency. You got to kind of try that on your own and figure out what actually works and stuff like that. So this is kind of usually how you get the molds minus the cockpit in here. I can't even get it out. It's driving me a little crazy now. Oh, there it is. It's actually popping out, but very slowly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it out, and I spaced the windows apart here. Whoops. Slow down. Now, usually when you buy these things, they give you like 2 or 3 of them for when you screw up. So let's just pop that out. Come on. Thank you. So this will need to be cleaned up later. Won't be too difficult to do. I'll just and it'll work. I think it'll work pretty well too. Let's take off the back. There we go. So now what you can do, since you've made this yourself, you haven't bought one from, again, Squadron. Oops, don't want to crush that. Yeah, now that you've made it yourself, one thing you can do is kind of cool, is you put the old one back in here. Here's the old window, like so. Let's take a pen, and let's trace exactly. Let me see, am I actually getting ink on it? No, I need the other one. Well, someone swiped it. There it is. Let's trace it around. And now I've traced a nice thin line on there. And of course, it's such a thin line it won't register on the camera. But if I take my, replace this knife, get a really nice sharp one in there, and just slowly trim the line, I'll get the shape that I want. The other thing too, now you were asking, how do I mask this off? Because there's no panel lines on it really anymore. If the model really has defiant panel lines, this one doesn't have as defiant panel lines as like the Academy one. How do you mask it off? Well, again, it's actually kind of simple. What you do is you mask the plastic one. So put the tape on here. What I'll do is I'll put the tape on here, I'll cut it out, take it off, and I'll push it onto my new vacuum formed canopy. So I'll have them in the exact spots that I need, and they'll be the exact shape. And yeah, in a little while I'll be ready to go and airbrush these guys red. And that's all she wrote. That's as simple as that. It's a tedious process, and like me, you could see there, I needed help. I needed someone to hold the vacuum hose up there to the vacuum form machine here. But it's just that simple. Now I'm gonna have a really nice clear canopy. Like here, let's just take a look at the. There you go. Look at that. I can see everything on the inside there. It just looks really great. So I get this crystal clear looking window. And you might want to make yourself a couple copies, and you practice and play around with this, because it is a tricky thing to get the hang of at first. When I first was doing this, it took me, I don't know, about 4 or 5 tries to make a 109 cockpit. The other thing you're going to want too, I just remembered, is you're going to want some kind of nice sanding stick. And this is just to, buff out the edges, make them all nice and smooth, and you'll get the shape. It's a bit of a tricky process to do, but I think it is worth it in a lot of cases, especially like right now with these, these rotten windows. And getting this stuff isn't that difficult to do. It's a lot of it is just do it yourself. You build this little box here, you cut out and save plastic, because the plastic comes with so many things, and you just pull it out of the box and save it for a rainy day when you need to vacuum form something. You cut out some cardboard templates like this, and away you go. So you're the one laughing because you've got an excellent canopy and you didn't really pay anything for it. This box was actually made out of just scrap wood that I found lying around. And so yeah, that's vacuum forming. So I'm gonna go cut this stuff out and shape it, and yeah, and then mask them off and get ready to airbrush these parts. So thanks for watching that.